Hello everyone, welcome back to Pabbly. In this video we're going to learn how to create Notion item on Cognito Forms submission. So I'm an owner of a real estate agency and using Cognito Forms, I have created a form using which I'm collecting my leads data. Here what I want is that as soon as by the potential customers or clients, a new form submission is going to be done using Cognito Forms, I want to create the record of my leads details in my Notion database as an item. Now creating these records manually can be very time consuming and prone to errors. So what I've done is I've simply automated this entire process with the help of Pabbly Connect, which is an amazing automation and integration software. And here in this automation, I'm going to build a connection between Cognito Forms and Notion with the help of it. So if you also want to learn about this amazing automation process step by step, for that let me take you to my screen.
In this video, we're going to learn how to create Notion item on Cognito Forms submission. So as an owner of a real estate agency, I use Cognito Forms to collect property inquiries and clients' consultation requests. And I use Notion to organize and manage my leads, track interactions, and personalize follow-ups. The challenge that I face is manually transferring the information from Cognito Forms to Notion, which is very time-consuming. So what I've done is I've simply automated this entire process. Now, whenever a new form submission is going to be done by the lead with the help of Cognito Forms, automatically the record of the lead details is going to be created in my Notion database as an item. And for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an automation between these applications with the help of Pabbly Connect. So on the screen, you can see the website of Pabbly Connect, that is pabbly.com/connect. After browsing this website, we need to sign into our Pabbly Connect account. But if you're a new user, you can sign up for free and get 100 free tasks every month. So as I'm an existing user, I'm going to sign into my Pabbly Connect account. After signing in, you can see the All Pabbly apps window in front of you, in which you can see all the applications of Pabbly, from which we are going to select Pabbly Connect by clicking on this Access Now button. Then Pabbly Connect's dashboard is going to appear in front of you. In order to start an automation process in Pabbly Connect, we need to create a workflow. For that, click on this top right corner button right here that says Create Workflow. A dialog box is then going to appear in front of you, which is asking for the workflow name and for us to select a folder. So with the name of my workflow over here, I'm going to write it as Create Notion item on Cognito Forms submission. So that's the name that I want to give to my workflow, okay? After that, it is asking for us to select a folder. So on the left side of my screen, you can see I've created multiple folders in my Pabbly Connect account, from which I'm going to select a specific folder in which I want to save this workflow in. For that, click on this drop down. These are the folders from which I'm going to select Cognito Forms Automations as the folder I want to save this workflow in. After giving the name to the workflow and selecting the folder, I'm going to click on this Create button in order to create a workflow. A workflow is created in the name of Create Notion item on Cognito Forms submissions, and there are two windows in front of you. One says Trigger, other says Action. So what is Trigger and Action? Trigger and Action are the two most important steps of our automation process because our process depends on these two concepts. Over here, Trigger says when this happens, and Action says do this. That means what is action? Action is a response towards our trigger. In an automation process, there can be only one trigger step but multiple action steps. We are going to set up our trigger step first. And for the trigger application, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select it as Cognito Forms. Cognito Forms is an online tool that helps us to create and use forms easily. You can use it to build customizable forms for things like collecting customers' information, tracking records, taking orders, scheduling appointments, and getting feedback. And using Cognito Forms, I have created a contact us form with the help of which I'm collecting my leads data. Here what I want is that as soon as a new form submission is going to be done by the lead, automatically Pabbly Connect should capture the response of that. And that is for my trigger application. I have selected it as Cognito Forms. And for the trigger event, I'm going to select it as New Entry. After selecting the trigger application and the event, to connect Cognito Forms to Pabbly Connect, you can see Pabbly Connect has provided us with a webhook URL. So by following the steps given here below in the help desk using this webhook URL, we are going to build the connection between Pabbly Connect and Cognito Forms. For that, firstly, I'm going to copy this URL from here. After copying the URL, I'm going to open the form that I've created using Cognito Form that I want to connect to Pabbly Connect. So this is the form right here that I want to connect to Pabbly Connect. For doing that, over here, what I'm going to do is from the left side of the panel on this form settings, over here it says post JSON data to a website. I'm going to toggle this button on right here. It is asking for endpoints right here, and there is a specification of submit entry endpoint. Over here in this field, I'm going to paste the webhook URL that Pabbly Connect has provided us under submit entry endpoint. Okay. After entering that, I'm going to click on the save button to save the changes right here. As now it is saying saved, this means the webhook URL is successfully added over here to this form that I've created using Cognito Forms. As the URL is added, I'm going to go back to my workflow and scroll down. It is saying waiting for webhook response. So now to check whether Cognito Forms is connected to Pabbly Connect or not, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the test submission of this form that I've created using it. And after doing the test submission, I'm going to check whether Pabbly Connect captures the response of the test submission being done or not. Okay. And for doing the test submission from this panel, I'm going to go to this publish section right over here. As I've come to it, this over here is the link right over here. I'm going to open this link in a new tab. So this is the form that I've created using which I'm going to do the test form submission, okay? Firstly, it is asking for the first name. So for the first name over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write it as test. For the last name over here, I'm going to write it as customer, okay? For the email over here, I'm going to write it as test@pabblytudes.com. For the phone number over here, I'm going to write in a dummy mobile number. After that, for the property type, I'm going to select the property type as residential property. And for the city over here, I'm going to write it as Bhopal, okay? After filling in all the required details, I'm going to click on this submit button right here. As I've done that, it says thank you for filling out the form. This means now the test form submission is done. As it is done, I'm going to go back to my workflow and scroll down. And yes, you can see right over here, Pabbly Connect has captured the response of the test form submission being done. For the property type comes over here as residential property. You can see first name as test, last name as customer. Over here, if I'm going to scroll down, this is the phone number of our customer. You can see right here. If I'm going to further scroll down, the city comes over here as Bhopal. And in the response, you have received the email that is test@pabblytudes.com. As the response has now been successfully captured, this means that Cognito Forms has now been successfully connected to Pabbly Connect and a trigger setup is done. Now, as we have done our trigger setup right here, we need to set up our action step. Now, I want to add this lead as a item in my Notion database. For that, what we're going to do is we're going to set up our action step. And for the action application over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select it as Notion. Notion is an all-in-one workshop app that helps us to stay organized and productive. It combines tools of note-taking, task management, project planning, collaboration in one place. I am using Notion to keep the record of all my leads. I want that as soon as a new form submission is going to be done by the lead, I want to create the record of that lead details in my Notion database as an item. And that is it for my action application. I've selected it as Notion. And for the action event, I'm going to select as create database item, okay? And then I'm going to click on this connect button. A window is going to appear in front of you, on which click on add new connection, or else you can select the existing connection that you have. After that, click on connect with Notion right here. As I'm going to do that, a window is then going to appear in front of you, on which it is asking for us to select the pages. So I've created a page in the name of new lead details. So I'm going to search for the page right over here. That is the new leads details. I'm going to select this right here, okay? After selecting the page, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this allow access button as the save process my data is perfectly safe, okay? As you can see that I successfully authorized Notion to Pabbly Connect. As I've authorized, over here it is asking for us to select the database. So I've created a database in the name of new leads details. You can see right over here. So what I'm going to do is for my database over here, I'm going to select it as new leads details, okay? After selecting the database in which we want to create a record of our lead in, it is asking for the email address, property type, phone number, last name, city, and the first name. So for the data of these fields, what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply map the data. Mapping means inserting data from the previous step. So we're going to insert the data from the previous step of this workflow. How mapping works is that as soon as I'm going to click on this field, this was the previous step. You can see right over here, that is Cognito Forms, new entry. As I'm going to click on it, this was the same response that was captured in our previous step. Over here, it is asking for the email address. So I'm going to search for the email address right here. You can see in my previous response, I have received the email address of my lead that I want to create the record of in my Notion database as an item. So for the data of this field, I'm going to select the data of the email address from my previous response. As I've selected the data from my previous response, the data is mapped. And as I've mapped the data has now become dynamic. That means whenever now a new response is going to be captured in our previous step, automatically the new data is going to be updated in place of this mapped data. Similarly, for the property type, I'm going to search for the property type right here and I'm going to map the data of it. For the phone number over here, I'm going to map the data of the phone number right over here. I'm going to map the data. After that, it is asking for the last name. So I'm going to search for the last name right here. I'm going to map the data. Okay. For the city over here, I'm going to map the data of the city right here. So this is the city data. I'm going to map it. For the first name over here, I'm going to map the data. The first name right here. I'm going to map the data right here. Okay. After filling in all the required details, I don't require this content field. So I'm going to skip the part. After filling in all the details, I'm going to click on this save and send test request button. As I've done that, you can see right away I've received a response, which is a positive response. So now I'm going to open my Notion database over here. And you can see right over here, an item has been successfully created in my Notion database. First name as test, last name as customer, email as test@pabblytudes.com with a dummy mobile number, property type as residential property, and city as Bhopal. As the record of the lead is successfully created in my Notion database, this means that we have successfully created an automation between Cognito Forms and Notion with the help of Pabbly Connect. So now to sum till now what we have done, I am an owner of a real estate agency, and over here in my trigger in this work, I've selected as Cognito Forms new entry, as whenever by the lead a new form submission is going to be done using Cognito Forms, over here in my trigger it is going to capture the response. As the form submission is going to be done, I wanted to create the record of my leads details in my Notion database as an item. And for that, I've set up this action step in which my action application is Notion and the action event is create database item. Okay, so this is how you create this amazing automation between Cognito Forms and Notion with the help of Pabbly Connect. So this was it for this video. Thank you so much for watching.
Not just with these applications, you can create automation between multiple other applications with the help of Pabbly Connect. If you have any questions, you can contact us on support@pabbly.com. If you have any queries, you can check the queries on forum.pabbly.com. And if you have any pricing related issues, then you can check out this link. If you like this video, please do subscribe to our channel, hit on the like button, comment on if you have any questions or doubts, and please share this video.